in which all is beauty, harmony, and perfection. This is the natural way of living, the way God sees us living, and the way so beautifully exemplified by Jesus here on earth. The other is the unnatural, the self-way, the hard way. When we realize it, it is easy. It is so easy, so natural to live the Christ way. Then we come into the Christ consciousness. We have tables spread. This is the only occasion on which we congregate for a feast. It is not a feast such as those in mortal consciousness might think. It is a feast of realization and accomplishment, symbolizing the passing from the mortal to the Christ consciousness, and so greatly misunderstood throughout the world today. We believe that all of God's children will sit down to such a feast someday with the true realization of its meaning. We shall have with us tonight a few of those that have so perfected their bodies that they are able to take them into all the celestial realms and there receive the highest teachings. They have all lived a certain time here in visible form, then passed on and taken their bodies with them to a place in consciousness where they are not visible to mortal eyes, and we must raise our consciousness to the Christ consciousness to converse with them. But those that have so perfected the body that they can take it to this celestial realm can return to us and go away at will. They are able to come and instruct all who are receptive to their teaching and appear and disappear at will. It is these that come and teach us when we are ready to receive instruction, sometimes intuitively and at times by personal contact. There will be 5 of these to break bread with us tonight. Among the 5 is one especially beloved by us, as she is the mother of one of us and has dwelt among us. This proved to be Emal's mother. We shall not gather around the table. We shall now gather around the tables. The lights dimmed for a moment, and all sat perfectly quiet with bowed heads. Then the lights came on, and the 5 stood in the room, 3 men and 2 women. They were all dressed in white and were radiantly beautiful, with a soft glow of light about each one of them. They walked quietly forward, and each took a place left vacant at the head of each table. Emal's mother took the place at the head of our table, with our chief at her right and Emal at her left. After the 5 were seated, the edibles began to arrive. It was a simple meal of vegetables, bread, fruit, and nuts, but very palatable. The talks that followed were chiefly instructions to those who had assembled for the occasion. They were given in the native tongue and were translated by Jast. I will not include these talks, as the greater part has already been given. Emal's mother, the last speaker, used perfect English, and her voice was clear and concise. These were her words: "We use forces every day that man, in the mortal concept, laughs at. We who are privileged to see and use these are doing all that we can to have men see and know what they are keeping out of their lives by the thoughts they are holding of the perfect things that are right at hand, ready and waiting to be taken hold of. As soon as these forces are taken hold of or appropriated by man, they will be far more real and living than those things that man clings to so desperately in the mortal. Clings to because they can be seen, felt, and handled or contacted through the limited mortal senses. You will note that all our comforts in this room, and those you are occupying, such as light and heat, and even the things you have eaten, are prepared by one of these forces. You may call it light rays or what you will. We see it as a great universal power or force, which, when contacted by man, will work for him far more effectively than steam, electricity, gasoline, or coal. Yet we call it one of the least of the forces or powers. This force will not only furnish all the power needed by man, but it will also furnish heat for all his needs at all times and in all places, without the consumption of 1 pound of fuel of any kind. This force is perfectly noiseless, and if man will contact and use it, it will stop a great deal of the noise and confusion that now seems unavoidable. This power is right at hand, all about you, waiting for man to contact and use it. When he does contact and use this force, it will be far simpler than the steam or electricity. As man is able to do this, he will see that all modes of power and locomotion that he has devised are but makeshifts that he has brought forth in his own mortal concept. He has thought that he himself hath brought them forth, and he has in this way brought forth only that which he could contact with the mortal senses. He has brought forth imperfect things, whereas if man would see that all is of God and from God, expressing through him, all things that he brings forth would be perfect. Man, having free will, has chosen the hard way, and instead of realizing his sonship with God and using all that God has, he will go on in the hard way until he is driven to realize that there must be, and really is, a better way. He will eventually know that God's way is the only way. Then he will express the perfection that God sees him expressing right now. Do you not see how you must be centered in the Father within you, drawing the whole of your good from him, and how every force of your nature is to operate from the divine self? In the beginning of all expression is God, the Father within, else God could not be expressed or brought forth. Here one of the party asked what power or force our thoughts and words had upon our lives. She held out her hand, and in a moment a small object was lying in it. She said, "Let me drop this pebble into this bowl of water. You see that the vibrations caused by the pebbles coming in contact with the water radiate from that center in ever-widening circles until they reach the rim of the bowl, or outer edge of the water, where to the eye they seem to lose their force and stop. What really happens is this. As soon as the vibrations have reached the limits of the water, they start on their return journey back to the place where the pebble entered the water, and they do not tarry until they reach that center. This exactly represents every thought or word we think or speak. The thought or word sets in motion certain vibrations that go out and on in ever-widening circles until they compass the universe. Then they return as they went forth to the one that sent them out. Every thought or word we think or speak, be it good or bad, returns to us as certainly as we send it forth. This returning is the day of judgment spoken of in your Bible. Every day will be a day of judgment thereof. The judgment will be good or evil, just as the word or thought sent out is good or evil. Every ideal, thought, or word becomes a seed. The seed ideal is sent out, planted in the soul, held in mind, becomes a conception, later to be brought forth or expressed in physical form. Thoughts or ideas of perfection bring forth perfection. Thoughts or ideas of imperfection bring forth imperfection. The sun and earth combined will produce with equal willingness the mighty banyan or the smallest flower if the seed is planted. It is in this way that the soul and spirit respond to the call of man, and that for which he asks by word or thought he receives. The only thing that has separated man from heaven is a mist of material thought that man has created around heaven, and this has given rise to the mysteriousness that surrounds all things divine. This veil of mystery is gradually being pulled aside, and it is found that there is no mystery,